Hello everyone, Tina here. I hope you're having a fabulous Monday. Thank you so much for joining me. Well, today I'm going to create a card using the Spellbinders Large Die of the Month Club Kit. It's called Christmas Foliage Strip and Borders. I've created a card with this early on, and my project today is actually part of a blog hop celebrating all of the club kits from Spellbinders. I hope you can join us. There is a giveaway to go with it, and I'll leave my blog link down below if you want to head on over. Let's jump in and let's do some die cutting. This was such a pretty die, and I decided to use, instead of making, this is nice die set because it's great for regular slimline, mini slimlines, and I'm going to make it an A2 size card today. So I'm using the Foliage die, cutting that out with white cardstock on a panel that's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches, and then I'm taking this really pretty die, and this is gonna give me cut lines inside my panel, so it's gonna create like little windows. It's actually a really pretty die, guys. I'm gonna die cut that out along with my foliage. You can see here how pretty that is, along with the floral piece here. My idea was to keep this card basically white, just intensifying all the pretty layers that are in this die set, but I do want to bring in some Christmassy colors, so I'm bringing in some red. I wanted to create kind of like a wintry Christmas card. Next we're going to take this, it's an embossed swervy line die. It does have a cut line. I'm going to follow along the bottom edge of that real pretty cut out detail piece in my panel. So I'm going to line it up, use that piece kind of as a guide. I want it one layer lower. I actually want 2 layers to go below that piece here. So I want to make sure that there's enough room and I have it kind of evenly spaced. So once I'm happy with the placement, I'll tape this down, and we're going to run this through again twice with the die cutting machine. Once I'll put on the other side too. I do want to die cut out some pine needles. We're going to use the white cardstock that's going to be left over. I'm just going to flip it around and die cut out another panel with that die, the border die there. Okay, then we're going to bring in some red cardstock. I'm using Spellbinders Pomegranate Red. It's such a pretty red. And then I went through my glitter cardstock and I found a silver one. There's flowers in that foliage border. I'm going to die cut those out with the silver. And then I'm going to die cut out the poinsettia with the red flowers. Now in the foliage piece, there's one larger poinsettia. I just cut down a small square of the pomegranate cardstock, put it behind that flower that was in that border die, so I have a large flower to put on that existing border piece. It's originally meant to have 2 layers on top of the border piece, but I wanted the layers to be red, so I just die cut out, or trimmed around it to cut it out. You'll see here what I mean in a minute. Okay, with these 2 pieces, I wanted to create kind of like a hillside, snowy snowbank, and so we're going to go ahead and adhere our first layer just below the detail layer, kind of leaving a little bit of a gap, but evenly lining it up so it's a continuous pattern. There's a little excess overhanging, so we're just going to take the scissors once I get it straight and then we'll trim this off. Basically the bottom and then the left side. And then I do have one more piece we're going to put just below this layer, and I love the embossed detail on here. So we have a little dimension too when you layer 2 pattern paper or 2 cardstock sheets together. And I think that looks nice. We'll just trim off the excess to this one. Okay, now once we have this done, I'm going to bring in my foliage, and this is going to go just above that detail piece. I love the little window behind it. I just think it's so pretty. Okay, let's grab that detail piece, and I'm going to directly adhere that to my panel. So we'll just flip it around, use the tape runner, and add some tape behind it. Carefully, because it's kind of detailed, and then place this above. And again, we're keeping it white, going with a snowy kind of a background. We're just going to use the scissors and trim off what's overhanging. And my panel size, I don't know if I mentioned it, is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches, so it's going to fit my entire card front. I just love the way this looks. I think it looks really elegant, even with just the white. We do want some color and bells and whistles, so this is the flower that I die cut out with that strip. We're just going to lay that right on top of the existing one. And then these two are I created with the dies in the set. This medium one will fit perfectly over the smaller poinsettia up in this corner. And then I did die cut out 2 sets, and I just layered them together. It creates gorgeous flowers, guys. I need to layer this one on here. Kind of tricky in the corner. In the glue, you kind of got to hold down a little bit. So I better hold it down before I trim that off. Okay. I think we're going to need one more set. Now, there's just 2 flowers that are on that strip that I die cut, but I do want to add one more. So I'm going to bring back those 2 dies and then some red cardstock. And we're going to die cut out 2 more to put just below that detail piece with the window, the window swervy. I guess that's what you can call it. Okay, I die cut those flowers out. Before we put them together, I want to go ahead and add some sparkle to my white pine needles. So I'm using my glue, and I'm going over the edges of those pine needles, and then I'm bringing in some this is Fun Stamper's Journey Sparkle Cuts. Oh, it's like an iridescent glitter, an iridescent chunky glitter, and it does add so much sparkle. Iridescent sparkle, I should say. So it's not just plain. It's got some beautiful iridescence to it. I'm going to add some sparkle to all of these leaves. I cut out 6 of them in total. I'm just going to add a little glue on the pine needle edges, and then we can evenly space it, and then we'll just dip that in that glitter, and it dries pretty fast too with the glue. You can see that sparkle. It keeps them white, but you still have that nice little shimmery factor. Next, we're going to add a little bit of glue over the existing pine needles on that foliage, and then we're going to go ahead and kind of offset our sparkle pine needles around our little foliage piece. And it really does add so much. I am going to save a couple for the flower that I created that goes underneath that border there. So we have 2 on the top with the border strip, and then we have 1 on the bottom, kind of by itself in that snowbank area, kind of spreading out that red color. Next, I'm adding glue to the small flowers that are on that foliage strip, and then I'm also going to add glue where I want to put the extra ones. You can layer these together to create some dimensional flowers, but I'm going to add the smaller flower instead of putting it over the larger one. We're going to add it kind of offsetting those flowers. Okay, we have 1 left over and then a pine needle left over. I'm not sure if I'll use that, but we're going to keep it just in case. Now we need a sentiment, so I'm bringing in a stamp set. It's actually a stamp and cut set, and I'll show you in just a minute. Before we go any further, I do want to take my panel, put foam tape behind it, and then add this to my card base. Now I created a red card base with the same pomegranate cardstock, so the red you can see is just flowing down the middle, and I just love the way this looks. I think it looks so pretty, but the inside was too red for a sentiment. So to fix that, I'm bringing in my essential rectangle dies. I'm just using a dotted detail piece, and I die cut out some white cardstock. We're going to put this on the inside of our card base. That way we can write a message, and it's a little bit more visible, but you have that pretty border on there too. Now for our sentiment. The sentiment stamp set is called Mini Christmas Greetings. It has a whole bunch of sentiment strips, and then it also has a die that you can cut out those strips with. So I'm stamping them on some white cardstock. I'm going to choose two different ones that you can kind of customize with. The first one says Christmas Greetings. I'm going to stamp that with my black ink on some white cardstock. And then the second sentiment will say, From Our Home to Yours. And then we'll just take the die here. It's really long, but it's nice because you can cut to the left, to the right, and any of these sentiments you could stretch. We're going to go ahead and die cut out our sentiments. put these back. It's nice when you have a die, because this strip is actually pretty thin, and to get this straight in my trimmer is a little tough, so dies are nice. I did flip those over and add foam adhesive behind them. We're going to start off by adding our second part of the sentiment that says "From Our Home to Yours." I'll just remove the release paper off of the Christmas greetings, and then that's going to go just above our first sentiment that we put down. Now I did have to remove my poinsettia flower that we put on the bottom. I actually popped it up. I layered the two flowers together to create my layers, and then put foam adhesive behind it. So it was pretty easy to lift up. I'm going to go ahead and put that back at the end of my sentiment strips. I like doing that to kind of ground them, I guess you could say. Okay, once we have our sentiments adhered, we just need some bells and whistles, and I'm not going to do much. There's lots of sparkle, but I do want to put some flowers centers in each one of those with some red color essential gems. I'm using the largest ones, the largest gems in the set for the center of the poinsettias, and then for the middle of the silver glitter flowers, I'm just using some sizes that kind of coordinate there. There is a little berry on this little border, and it was kind of on its own, so I wanted it to coordinate. So I did bring in my silver stickles and added little berries to those you can see here in the still shots. But I hope you can visit us for the blog hop. Lots of inspiration with all the club kits. Have a fabulous day. Thanks for joining me, guys. We will see you again soon. Bye-bye.